I'm using it personally, like I said, for interpreting everything, for going through dense documents, for going through different types of sources where you're bringing in video, you're bringing in audio, you're bringing in slideshows or slide decks. It's usually harder to get all that stuff into some kind of PDF or some kind of text so you can put it into ChatGPT. But NotebookLM is amazing at doing that and putting these things together. JC?
So many. I mean, how can I react to this? Just incredible applications, and is the art of the possible. Literally, with this type of tool, is the art of the possible. Welcome to Generation AI, where we demystify artificial intelligence, AI, under the lens of higher education. I am JC Bonilla, and I'm joined by my awesome co-host, Artis Kadui. How you doing, pal?
Hey, JC, how's it going?
We're doing good. I joined you from Turkey, my friend, and wrapping summer. So we're in end of summer type of feeling. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Back to school. My kids actually, it's back to school season.
Yeah.
My kids have been in school for a couple of weeks now because they go to year-round schooling. But everybody else, it's either dropping their kids off at colleges and for some of them for the first time, and some of them, they're just taking the trip and kind of finishing colleges. Others are getting prepared because I believe this week or next week is kind of the start of the full school season. So it was always a really good time for me going back to school because we worked, as you know, we worked together. Yeah, it was good. I love it, man. It's like the fall or the coming of the season.
You, the teenager, like going back to school, or are you talking about you, the adult?
Me, the teenager, like going back to school. It was good. Like I liked it. It was, you get back and you have all your friends and you have the activities and it's just a very different vibe. So I kind of miss it.
Oh,
And I have to live vicariously through my kids.
yeah. Summer, right, it brings a different schedule in kids, right? And we experienced that, right? So what I remember from going back to school, and now it's relate to my kids, is how the routine changes. So for me, I dreaded though just waking up early. I used to live far from the school. We were the first kids who got picked up from the bus. So it was like a 5 a.m. wake up call. And it was just like those 2 3 weeks that were horrific to go from summer wake up time, whatever that was, as a growing up teenager to, or kid, to like crack of dawn. So it was a rough first month. I didn't mind being back to school. It was just the routine and how, that wake up early morning. Anyway.
Yeah. So what are we going to be talking today?
Look, everyone's talking about back to school. It's important to have our own perspective in back to school, but true to our style and nature, when we discuss this, we want to do something very practical that it's linked to back to school. And in a way, I had the opportunity to go back to you and say, all right, what is the one thing that we can do that is practical, that moves the needle, and is centered around AI and back to school? Knowing that a lot of people are talking about methodology and talking about how shifts in learning and behaviors are going to take place, super important. But we wanted to have something about tools that perhaps in a good AI, generation AI, shifts educational experience, and it's super practical and dear to our hearts. So where does this conversation land us, Artis? What are we talking about, given that I kind of gave you that task, right?
Yeah, so today we're going to be going very practical, and we're going to be not reviewing, but we're going to be doing an overview of NotebookLM, and we're going to go a little bit deeper into it, the use cases of NotebookLM, and we're actually going to show you a few things. So if you're not watching this on our YouTube, this is probably a better video episode for you rather than audio, but we're going to do our best in terms of describing everything that we're going to show. So NotebookLM is a Google product, and it's a Google AI product, and that's what we're going to do today. Obviously, going back to school, ChatGPT is kind of all the rage, and the class of 2026 that's actually going as the seniors this year, they're the first generation or their first class that's going to be graduating in 2026 that entered college with ChatGPT. 2023, 2022, end of 22, 23, if you remember. So now they're going to graduate next year with with ChatGPT, having it through their whole educational experience. But today we're going to be talking about NotebookLM, which is a product that we use here at Element all the time, and I'm actually a huge fan of it. I've been giving other talks about NotebookLM, and one of the things that, as kind of we introduce it essentially, NotebookLM is Google's AI-powered research assistant and thinking partner. That's the way Google describes it.
Probably within the Gemini family, one of the tools that has had the most innovation throughout the past year or so, right? Yes, one of the tools that it's in the DNA of Element, we use it a ton. And it has very interesting practical applications that I think everybody could benefit from. So
Yep. So yeah, we use NotebookLM to analyze research papers, even generating episode ideas for the podcast, and even generating podcasts for internal use cases and overview videos and so on, training components. So we wanted to share a lot of that. But let's start with the basics. Like what exactly is NotebookLM? And we just talked that it's essentially what Google calls it, the research thinking partner grounded in information you trust, build with the latest Gemini models. So what does that mean, JC? Like what's different? Like why is NotebookLM and what's different from ChatGPT and Gemini specifically?
is this where I say podcasts? But anyway, not only is a research partner, right, that you'll find in multiple frontier models in their front end, Chat, GPT, or Claude, and whatnot. It's designed to be source driven. So in a sense, it only starts working for you if you load a document. So PDF, document heavy design, right? As opposed to just prompt and give me something. It needs a context to start doing its conception. And then I'm going to butcher this. Once you've done that, the outputs touch on very modern communication skill applications and outcomes. So we'll talk more about this, but from mind maps to voice podcast conversations or study guides. So it goes from this resource, a document, through, good LLMs and outputs that are very, very shareable in nature.
So one of the areas, so where you can go is notebooklm.google.com, and you have access to it. You can have a free version of it, and you can only upload certain documents. But if you have the pro version, you can upload a lot more documents, and you can give you some additional features to it. But what you mentioned is that its ground is strictly on your sources. It means that there is no web knowledge in here. So it doesn't go to the web. It doesn't have its own knowledge internally. It's basically grounded on your sources. So what you're seeing here, as you go to NotebookLM, the first thing that you're going to do is add your sources. And that's kind of where you can start uploading, and you can start uploading a lot of different types of sources in here. But again, the biggest difference versus like ChatGPT is that it's more accurate for specific documents. It cites sources directly, so you can kind of see the sources and it cites them directly. It's less creative wandering, right? It doesn't go in that direction. It gives you very straight answers, whereas ChatGPT really excels in broad ideas, but can hallucinate sometimes, right? If it doesn't use the right sources. Now, when you think about versus Gemini, if you use, Gemini as well, this is built on the Gemini AI engine and the AI models, but it's actually focused, right? So it's focused on the specific sources that you give it. So it's essentially Gemini, but it focuses on the sources and it pulls the information on the questions that you give it from the sources. When you think about it, handles about 50 plus sources or notebooks or documents, but you can buy the plus version and you can go from there. It also has an iOS and Android app, which is pretty awesome. It can come very handy when you start working with the AI overviews in here. But now let's see how it operates, right? So let's go in here. We can, like I said, we logged into notebooklm.google.com, and then when we see the interface in here, we see the sources interface, we see the chat. This is where we start asking questions. As soon as you upload a source, it's going to automatically create this overview for you. And then on the right-hand side, you have different, what they call their studio. And this is where you can start creating assets out of your content that you have uploaded. one of the things that you can start creating is reports. So you can start creating briefing docs, study guides, FAQs, or even a timeline based on the documents that you have uploaded in here. So one of the things that I've done in here for this example is that I have uploaded a recent document in here, a recent report, JC, from Titan Partners, and it's called Driving Toward a Degree 2025. So essentially what this report is, it's just a lot of research in terms of higher education. What are the trends? How do you support students? Think about advising challenges, the career readiness components, the financial pressure that schools are facing, and then kind of the solutions around smarter support via data and generative AI. So it's an interesting report, but we're going to use that as kind of our basis for what we're going to be talking about today.
Totally following. And just to remind everybody what we are going to be showing, unlike your ChatGPT, that it's very broad in how it sources. NotebookLM is fantastic at this narrow focus and accuracy of citation, because you're only saying, I want you to look at this only to come and do the chat, the prompting, and these assets that will come and emerge. And that's the most beautiful thing about it, that it just doesn't do this kind of brainstorming body from any random source in the world, aka the internet. It is basically fact checking, co-piloting with you based on the narrow focus that you have done. So what we're going to be doing is doing the Driving Towards a Degree 2025. What kind of document is this again? This comes from Titans, but what?
It's a PDF.
What is it? 10 sec. It's a PDF of what? Is this telling me how I'm going to get my degree? As you prompt, what is the context of this
Well,
report?
actually, NotebookLM wrote the description of what this is over here. So it's a comprehensive report driving towards a degree. So essentially, it's with support from the Lumina Foundation. It focuses on the challenges and solutions within higher education student support services. It addresses the financial pressure impacting institutions, the increasing emphasis on career readiness for perceived value, and persistent advising challenges such as high caseloads and lack of coordination. So the document explores how data and generative AI can offer smarter support, blah, blah, blah. So it put this summary together.
Yeah, so it's classic summarization of elements.
Yep.
We've seen that, but in this case, it's just on the source that you've done it. And it's a holistic document, right, for basically what drives towards student success.
So we're not focusing necessarily on the document. So we're going to just show the NotebookLM. So one of the things that I love doing in here, at any time so you can upload as many sources as you want. And the first thing that we should probably take a look at is, right now I uploaded a PDF, but you can upload a text file, a markdown file. And what's really more important is you can upload audio files like an MP3, for example. So this is super, super important that you can, it understands audio and you can upload these MP3s. So if you have an interview with somebody, you can upload that in here and you can ask it questions about the interview and so on without actually transcribing it. The other parts that you can upload is Google Docs, Google Slides. Sometimes you can export those as PDFs to upload them to ChatGPT, but it's really easy to do it through here. And the one thing that I love the most is YouTube videos. So I can add YouTube video links, and it will kind of bring in the transcript from those videos into the source material. In addition, I can actually load in a website or a whole bunch of URLs. So if you want to go to your website and kind of start putting a whole bunch of URLs, you can load those in here as well. The one thing that I have done in the past is it doesn't recursively go through all the whole website. So you have to put individual URLs in here, but you can separate them with a space or a new line like it's recommended in here. So does that make sense?
Yeah, of course. One of the classical examples that we do here, Element, is we load PDFs, slide decks, for example, for a board meeting, right? So, and it creates narrative, and we'll talk about the assets it creates, but really good applications of what we do here. Artist, what's your favorite thing that you've done thus far on LM here? Do you have a favorite one? I noticed that you said that you've done episodes for our show here, but what is the one that you're like, I love this one?
So one of the things that I mean, we can go into more details, but one of the things that I did as examples, we're going to go to some examples, but internally we have uploaded and we use this for onboarding new folks to the company. And one of the things that we do is we upload all the playbooks that we have, all the documents. We upload, company town hall meetings. We upload product descriptions, and then that person now can ask any questions. We also provide, like, we create this overviews, this video overviews as well for that person, and that's perhaps one of the nicest features that was introduced very recently. As early, I think it was about 2 weeks ago in August that they introduced that new feature. They made it publicly available, but that's one way. Another one that I've done, which was probably really, really amazing, was we went through a leadership kind of evaluation
Exactly.
with that's probably what you wanted me to talk about. So we went through this leadership evaluation, and I don't know how many of you have done what's called a Hogan assessment. It's essentially a personality and a behavioral traits and an assessment on essentially, what are the tendencies and what are the traits and how do you behave and what are your strengths and weaknesses and things like that. And we uploaded those printouts or those test results or those assessments results in here, which essentially just give you, like, okay, you're 92 in this, or you're 91 in this, or you're 2 in this particular dimension. But nobody really knows how to interpret those. So what we did is that we created video overviews, and NotebookLM was just amazing at creating those video overviews and kind of this readout, as if somebody who had spent years and years and years, a consultant can interpret that. So it was really amazing. What did you think, JC?
I love that you bring that example, because without going deep into the outputs that Studio does, you loaded 3 different exams, at least 3 different outputs of these assessments, which speaks about who you are, how you show up at work, how you're incentivized, number 2. And number 3, what is your dark side? And when you trigger, like, what things manifest. And it's able to create the interconnectivity between these 3, right? That is the beauty of this, that not only is multi-source, but once you start doing these sources, where they come from YouTube or 3 different PDFs tests, it creates a connectivity. So when you prompt, chat, or create assets, you have that interplay of sources. Very, very, very powerful. You're visualizing and you're actually loaded 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Right.
5. Yeah.
5 different ones. Yeah, exactly. 5 different sources. But let's go back to our example in here. And one of the things that we created, which is pretty cool, is we're going to take a look at the video first.
All right, let's talk about American colleges, because they're in a really tough spot right now. They're getting squeezed from 2 sides, a financial crisis on one and a crisis of public confidence on the other. And how they're responding? Well, it could change the very meaning of a college degree. So let's dive in and break down what's really going on.
So let's start with a number that honestly is pretty shocking. A huge study from Titan Partners found that only 30% of the actual administrators and staff at private 4-year colleges strongly believe their own school is worth the cost. Think about that for a second. That's a staggering lack of faith coming from the people on the inside, the ones running the show.
So that begs the big question. Why? What's driving this collapse in confidence? Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm of money problems and, much deeper philosophical questions that are forcing colleges to rethink their entire purpose.
So, JC, well, I'm going to stop it at this. And what we're going to do is we're going to add the readout for this particular report. We're going to add it towards the end of our podcast. We're going to add the whole thing,
so people can experience it. Yeah. So what is happening here, right? You just loaded the resource. It gave you a summary, and you asked it, give me an audio version of this. There's no prompting, there's no customization, a video, no prompting or customization. This is off the shelf, a 6-video summary that with probably one of the best articulations, professionalized multimedia, because it's audio and video, right, of what this document is all about. Before you move forward, connecting this to back to school. So we're saying that I can be loading lectures, and I get, a second take from my professors or something that speaks better to me. I load a lecture in I don't know, differential equations that I did not understand, and I load my cognitive preferences, and it basically joins the two, and also it speaks to me in a way that it's more personalized and friendly. Is this what we're talking about, and why is back to school?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. So you can use this as essentially a notebook, and you can load in all of the content that a professor, so because they can give you a website, they can give you videos on YouTube, they can give you all these different things. You can load all those resources and you can start asking questions, but you can also start creating these overviews of particular topics that you want. Even though you might have been loading a lot of content, it was going to create an overview, but in terms of the overview, you can also customize what you want to focus on. So
the fine tuning, yeah,
exactly. So there is a prompt that you can add in. If you just click the button to create a video overview, it's going to create one that's a generic one, meaning a general one to cover everything. But in terms of customizing, you can actually prompt it to say, tell me or target a specific section of the article, or tell me about, the use of AI, or focus on the use of AI for the solutions, or focus on the solutions in this case. For students, you can say, focus on differential equations and give me an explanation of differential equations and how, like the different types and how they're built and so on and so forth. And the beautiful thing about it is that it gives you visuals as well, right? It creates the visuals of the video, and it doesn't just give you the audio. So that's the beautiful thing about, this new feature that they added, the video overviews.
So if I load my entire textbook, and I can start now customizing because the midterm is coming up. So I just need you to give me the walkthrough in video form for chapters 3 to 13, because that's what the midterm is all about. That's how you start basically doing the fine tuning. Before you go more into fine tuning, what other assets are there? There's video, there's mind maps, reports. What other? Yeah.
So this is all about. The examples that we're gonna go into some more crazy examples, but what we have right now. And this is not just for back to school for students, right? Because this podcast is not listened by a lot of students, but you can kind of see how this can be used for that. This can be used for loading in all of the marketing assets, for example, of an institution, all the case studies, everything. You can load in all of the some professors' research, and then you can kind of come up with this video overviews of their research. You can load in a orientation document, and then you can come up with a video overview that you can send to students. At Element, we loaded in a survey results for our pulse survey, and it actually produced a really amazing video for our team so they can consume what the results of the survey are. So you can do a lot of different things in here, or you can use a lot of those different use cases for that specifically. And you can ask the documents, these deep document questions around it as well. But let's go through some of the other assets. Perhaps in the past, one of the largest ones, or one of the biggest ones, has been the audio overview. Let's play the audio overview.
Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise to get you well-informed, fast. Ever felt that urgency to grasp a complex, high-stakes topic quickly? Well, that's exactly the journey we're embarking on today, diving deep into something affecting millions, the rapidly changing landscape of higher education. We've taken a really deep dive into the source material, primarily Titan Partners' annual Driving Toward a Degree 2025 research study. And this isn't just, another report. It's a massive undertaking. They surveyed over 3,000 students, advisors, faculty, administrators across more than 825 institutions. So our mission today, to extract the most critical insights.
All right. So, JC, I just stopped this, and we're going to, rather than going through this pre-built exercise, what we're going to do is we're going to jump right in, and we're going to actually discuss this with the host of this podcast that was introduced. So we're going to go into interactive mode.
Okay.
And let's join. Let's play it.
Welcome to the deep dive. We cut through the noise to get you well-informed, fast.
Hey there. Want to share your thoughts on this?
Hey there, how's it going? I'm here with my friend JC, and we're really interested to understand, the mindset of the students and kind of some of the sources that you guys have found?
Hey, it's going great.
Glad to have you both here.
That's an excellent question.
And very timely for today's topic.
We're actually diving into exactly that, the student mindset.
And the challenges they face.
Our main source for today's deep dive is the Titan Partners Driving Towards a Degree 2025 research study.
It's a really comprehensive report.
Yeah, they surveyed over 3,000 students, advisors, faculty, and administrators.
Okay, I'm going to cut you back again. So I really am very curious about the solutions and how AI plays into those solutions.
Oh, that's perfect.
You're jumping right to it.
We were just about to lay out the challenges.
But we can absolutely pivot and weave in the solutions in AI's role.
Because honestly, that's where a lot of the hope lies.
And it directly addresses the very real pressures we're discussing.
You're hitting on a core point of the report, actually.
The whole smarter support via data and generative AI section is key,
So we'll definitely explore how AI can help bridge these gaps.
both in terms of institutional viability and student support,
We're talking about things like automating routine tasks,
freeing up advisors for more complex interactions.
and even helping identify at-risk students more effectively.
It's all about how technology can augment, not replace, human connection.
We'll make sure to hit that hard as we go.
So our mission today is to extract the most critical insights,
Kind of like a shortcut.
to understand the monumental challenges and innovative solutions shaping colleges right now.
So JC, what do you think?
So the interactive mode it's somewhat new to me, and I'm always enjoying it. What do I think? It's fascinating. I wish there would be a way, maybe this is a fine tuning, that when I ask the question, it's less elaborate and just to the point, because they give me the answer in a show style presentation. It's elaborate. So
Right. You're breaking in. You're joining the podcast. That's basically the way that works.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so that's the audio overview, and we can certainly attach this to the end as well, or the video. I don't know which one will be probably more favorable.
Before you do that, mind maps. I love mind maps. I've been a student of mind maps. Can we just show everybody what a mind map looks like? A mind map, it's a basically a deconstruction of the key ideas and the supporting ideas of a document. In a way, it maps the hierarchy of these ideas, how it stems from the nodes, the trees, and how they're all interconnected. So it's a wonderful technique for deconstructing ideas and supporting ideas, and it does it for you. So you want to walk people through this?
Yeah. This is so what you're seeing right now. What we're kind of exploring right now is a mind map of the document. So the document is the root node, and then it's kind of splits this up into executive summary, the enduring viability or financial pressures, career readiness, perennial advising challenges, solutions, impact, path forward, implications of the path forward, conclusion, and then the appendix side. So which area do you want to explore more, JC? Solutions, obviously.
Of course, I was going to go, give me solutions, and of course the conclusion, because I'm always just want to see how it ends.
So we can kind of zoom in, and as we go to the solutions, there is perennial technology, challenges with adoption, how technology can augment support, and integrations and data solutions. So you kind of split that up into those use cases again.
Let's do adoption, expand, challenges with adoption, the second one.
Yep. And there's a little bit of bug in here where interesting.
No, it's giving you the sourcing, right?
Yeah. So it's interesting how.
Did you double click on it?
No, I clicked on it, so you can see now on the right-hand side. But essentially what we're getting here is the data around the adoption. So you can see over here, so we're exploring the document rather than us typing the questions. We're having this follow-up questions that are being asked of the document. So discuss what the sources say about challenges with adoption in the larger context of solutions, smarter support. So you can see how the mind map, you can navigate the content this way, but it's going to produce the content for you so you can actually see what the results are. So let's dive a little bit deeper on that, right? Let's dive a little bit deeper and let's see where we are. So let's talk about the low gen AI feature usage in advising tools. Is that okay?
Yes. So it's giving the sources on the left that describe this low gen adoption feature.
Yeah, so basically what it's saying is that the challenges with adoption is their remarkably low utilization of Gen AI features within existing advising technologies, with only 3% of administrators and frontline staff currently using these capabilities. We know this because we're actually building tools and we're building agents for them to support their, this, and we know that it's very, very low. So that's why we're building these tools to kind of expand that usage. And schools that are using them, they're being very, very productive.
This is so powerful. This is so powerful. I mean, it's so powerful. Just think about, I have a topic that I'm still not understanding how it interconnects to this subject that I'm studying. So what you start seeing through these type of assets is that it creates associations to the topic. It helps you understand where it's in context. You kind of have these interactive tutors, right, through these techniques. And it's really, really powerful for learning. Very, very powerful.
So one of the other things that we can create here is reports. So we're uploading a whole bunch of documents, and we can create what's called a briefing doc, a study guide, an FAQ, or a timeline. So let's create so I've clicked on this, and I've created kind of a study guide in here. We can actually go ahead and convert these to actually a source, so we can feed it back into it. But one of the things that we can do is take a look at it as a study guide. So he broke down the document and is giving us the as a study guide around the executive summary, detailed sections and breakdowns on the key topics, and kind of going through each one of the key topics essentially as a study guide. So it's basically putting into chapters and so on and so forth. And then it's producing a quiz as well with short answers and questions. So if you're a faculty member, if you're someone who's producing materials or learning materials, this is just upload a paper or upload multiple papers on a topic, and then it will produce this for you automatically. It gives you the questions, the short questions, and it gives you the answers as well. So it's pretty amazing. Also, essay format questions. So if you want to kind of produce some essay format, and then a glossary of terms, of key terms in here as well. This is actually worth it for us because when somebody comes in and works for Element and they're not necessarily from higher education, you can just upload in higher education reports, and then they'll actually understand all the different terms in here. So sometimes this is a very powerful tool. For example, if you tell somebody one-stop shop, if you don't work in higher education, you don't have that context, it essentially tells you what that is as part of the document. So what do you think? Study guide?
Study guide, love, love, love. What do I think? I literally went back to a course that I taught that it's 16 papers that you have to read. That's what the students need to do. And the amount of time it took me to synthesize the paper into meaningful questions. It was a whole summer, like the whole prep of a course, right? And then again, a validation of time to value, the speed of AI in action. It's mind blowing. You said you were gonna load this back into the sources. Why do I care? Can you explain to people what's the benefit of replacing an original lengthy document with an AI produced asset that is a resource? Kind of go back and what is this reinforced learning thing that is happening?
Yeah, so you mentioned that you're going to upload the whole book in there, and sometimes you just want the summaries or study guides and timelines. And what you can do is I can load this study guide back in here, and then I can create a video overview or a podcast of that study guide. So that's kind of the benefit of loading it back in the sources. And then when you tell your audio overview, you can customize it and you can say, create a, explain it to me based on the study guide source. So that's a really, really good way of thinking about it. And one of the things that you see in here when you start customizing these assets, like an audio overview or a video overview, specifically on the audio overview, you have the opportunity to kind of describe and say, do we want it on the shorter side or the default or longer side? Longer will give you a lot more of the context and content if you have more time, or if it's a dense subject that you're trying to understand, or a dense set of documents as well.
This is great. So what the example you just gave is, as opposed to having a whole book, you are creating these co-pilots and
Let's move
assets
away
on the
from the
cliff.
book, right? Yeah, let's
Yeah,
move away from the book use
on the
case. But
cliff notes.
yeah,
The
yeah,
cliff notes, right?
right.
What you say in the cliff notes, right? The other important thing is that when you have multiple sources, which is what you did with your hogs, inventory, the source now is creating the linkage. So when you sort it back, is mining the link of three or multiple sources, right?
Right. Right.
The use
Exactly.
case that I did in the third one thus far for me is similar to what you did and inspired by you. So I loaded my three assessments on what motivates me, what are my incentives, and kind of how I show up when I'm triggered. It creates a summary. I load it back now that it's kind of done the flow, right? And created the formula. And I prompted for an audience of, in this case, my wife. I wanted her to understand certain parts of me. So as a husband, as a father, and as a man, explain this. And it was a fascinating recap because it goes into certain intimacy of data that was designed for work, but explains some of my behavior. So it was a really, it's been my favorite application of going from three sources, creating a
Overview or
brief,
preview or brief. Yep.
brief, loading it back and prompting based on an audience.
Yep. So let's continue. I think some of the other things that we can create in terms of the reports is we created a timeline. So a timeline is essentially pulling together all of the chronological things that are happening. You can see how this can be very useful if you're doing a presentation and you have a lot of sources and there are different timelines in here. But this essentially created this timeline pre-2021. Talking about the detailed timeline. So persistent advising challenges pre-2021. In 2023, there was listening to learners. There was obviously the report. 2024, Department of Education staff downsizing. So it goes through the timeline of the different events that they are called out in the report and puts them into their individual timelines of the way that they happen. So very, very useful for a lot of different things. If you have documents, if you're loading in, so I can see a use case here where you might want to load in documents or kind of policies that have been over multiple years, for example, or documents that have been multiple years, and then you want to go back and you want to create a timeline of how those policies have changed, or you want to create a timeline of looking at your company growth, for example, or institutional growth and reports over the timeline of those many years. So you can do that as well. So two more things, and then we're going to kind of move on and give you some use cases, some of the very exciting, interesting use cases that I found, not necessarily here at Element or myself, but externally as well. The last one is the briefing doc that you mentioned. And this briefing doc is a summary of everything, is essentially just putting everything very condensed together so you can understand everything that's happening in that particular document or set of documents. It's putting all those pieces together. And then the last one that they have is what's called an FAQ. So how do you produce FAQs? This can be very, very interesting for web content. If you upload your website and then you create FAQs now based on the content on your website or your marketing material, and then you actually put them back on your website because LLMs understand FAQs, or you can put them back into your chatbot training or your chatbot components because it kind of extracts that information from it. So very, very interesting kind of use case of the FAQs. And they're very LLM friendly, right? So that's the whole idea here, is that these are very LLM friendly things. Pretty interesting, don't you think?
About 10 years ago, I believe I hired you in your agency. You were at Spark at that time. So you guys can read our catalogs and all our content, so we can have FAQs, right? And it required you, I don't know, a team of multiple people to distill these documents and have the 10 FAQs that landed in a website. How the world has changed and sped up in front of our eyes.
100%, exactly. So these FAQs are so interesting that you can start creating content, deep content for your websites now, right? both on faculty research, for, obviously for admissions, for policies, for strategic plans. Very, very, very interesting use cases. All right. So we talked about all of the things in here. You can also start thinking about sharing all of this. And this is probably one of my favorite features here, is not only can you use this yourself, but everything in the chat section refreshes every single time you log in. So none of the history is there. So when you create your assets, just remember that the assets are there, or the studio assets, but the chat history goes away. But you can also share this. So you can share it with people, and you can essentially share the full notebook, or you can share the chat only component, right? So you can load a whole bunch of content in here, and then you can share it with people outside of your organization, or you can share it with, let's say you can give this to a whole class. So as a faculty member, or as somebody in the admissions office, or you can create like an onboarding doc in here, and you can share it with everybody, so they can use the same document. They can't see each other's stuff, right? They're just using the source material to generate questions and so on and so forth. So it's very, very useful around that. We're going to stop sharing, and I'm going to talk about a couple of interesting use cases in here. Walter Isaacson, he's a renowned biographer, but he used NotebookLM to analyze Marie Curie's personal journals for his biography, representing high-profile adoption. That's a pretty interesting use case. So he loaded in all Marie Curie's,
Notebooks
biography and notebooks,
yeah.
and exactly her journals, her personal journals, and then if he's writing a book, he's going through that and kind of creating really, really interesting analysis out of that. Kim Clayson, he's a creative professional, discovered unconscious patterns in her brand identity by uploading her website content and blog posts with NotebookLM's mind map, which revealed themes around white space, storytelling, coaching, minimalism she hadn't consciously recognized before. So someone, and this is a creative person, they uploaded their whole website, and with the mind map use case, the mind map, they figured out, oh, these are the things that I talk about, or these are the themes that that my creative work kind of brings out. So it's very interesting. Like you can now upload all your writing, or you kind of upload all podcasts that you have done, or interesting things. And I'm going to probably do this, but you can explore it with your mind map, and you can figure out themes that come up based on that content, which is pretty cool.
Love that.
So here's another one. Fantasy sci-fi writers, they use NotebookLM for complex world building, where they upload character notes, backstories, and world maps. And then they ask questions like, what was the deal with that one character? And essentially they're trying to maintain consistency across intricate fictional universes. Can you imagine that? That's really interesting. Like AI can kind of keep all of that in one place. It gives you the backstories, and then you can ask questions. So without having to go to the research, or without having to kind of keep all that stuff in your head, which is very interesting.
I mean, many times we've been character development or episodes or shows that kind of evolve, and as an audience, you're like, how did this take place? It doesn't make sense. So there's this aspect of the purity or maintaining it being on characters that I think it's super fair. Very interesting. I like it.
So here's another one. Here's from a chief strategy officer. He achieved 75% reduction in client interview analysis time. So he uploaded all the transcript and instantly generated structured summaries, but also transforming their, basically transforming their published book into multiple blog posts with different voices and formats. So uploading customer interviews or student interviews, or essentially analyzing customer interviews is really, really interesting in this case.
Wait, I'm getting this one. So what this is happening is it loads the interviews?
Correct. you can, because you can load audio in here, so you don't have to transcribe them. You can load the whole audio, and then without doing the transcription, you can do the analysis.
Gotcha.
Another creative application, it really involves uploading YouTube videos, URLs, right? And this is a a geeky one, more of a technical one. I don't know if you know Kubernetes training or Kubernetes, which is kind of this orchestration platform, but it converts 3 to 4 hours of educational videos into digestible audio overviews with asking specific questions like explain the core differences between, I don't know, something and something without watching all these different videos. So, like how YouTube has training on basically everything. So you can now take all those videos, you can add them in here, and you can start asking questions or creating mini audio overviews or video overviews of particular topics. That's amazing.
I'm looking for a YouTube video, those 7 seconds of explains XYZ, but the whole video, it's 42 minutes, right? So now you're able to do that across multiple sources, right? And it's super powerful. I really love this one. It speaks to me. I'm constantly looking for the 7-second in between the 42-minute type of YouTube video. Yeah.
I mean, in this case, the use case was there was 4 to 5 hours worth of training video. So it was like multiple videos. So you upload all those videos in there, or you put the links to all those videos, and then you can ask it to digest everything, and you can ask it specific questions. Just like the idea, remember when we dropped into the AI podcast overview? So now you can drop into individual and you can ask, well, what's the difference between this and this? Oh, let's go a little bit deeper into this topic. So it's an interactive exploration of all of those videos that you can start asking questions to the content, which is amazing. All right, so there's another one. So personal productivity hackers develop innovative systems. So one freelance creates dedicated notebooks for each job interview. They upload the job descriptions and company information to create personalized AI preparation assistance. This is crazy. This is great. So you upload the company website, the company, because you can upload all those. You can upload the job description. And then when you go to an interview, you can practice because you can ask the questions that the interviewer comes up with. Or essentially, if they're asking you a question over Zoom, you can start typing that question and give them a personalized answer based on their website and based on the job description. You can't trust interviews anymore.
It brings back this paper that we read a few episodes ago in commentary on cheating, right? And is it cheating or not when I give you the right answer and using these sources or not? But yeah, it's another way to achieve the perfect answer or based on different approaches, right? Memorizing it, or in this case, prompting it.
Yeah, I mean, we can go down. There's a whole bunch of other ones that are really interesting here. Like you can use NotebookLM for competitive intelligence. Like you can upload the competitor's website and marketing material and identify market gaps and positioning strategies. This can be done for if you're doing program exploration and you say, hey, I want to open a new program, but here's the competitor. Here's the website to this new program from 3 or 4 competitors. Help me analyze this and figure out like market, like the positioning and so on and so forth. So very, very interesting use cases, and you can use it for a lot of that when you need very sourceable content, meaning that you're not going to ask ChatGPT, but you have everything under one place and you have this repository of your own content that you're going to ask questions around. Very useful tool. We're using it more and more here at Element. I'm using it personally, like I said, for interpreting everything, for going through dense documents, for going through different types of sources where you're bringing in video, you're bringing in audio, you're bringing in slideshows or slide decks. It's usually harder to get all that stuff into some kind of PDF or some kind of text so you can put it into ChatGPT, but NotebookLM is amazing at doing that and putting these things together. JC?
So many. I mean, how can I react to this? It's just incredible applications, and it's the art of the possible. Literally, with this type of tool, is the art of the possible.
All right, everybody. Well, hopefully you found this useful. If you stick around, we're going to play the overview for the document that we showed earlier. And for those of you who are on video, we're going to start it, right now. For those of you who are on audio, we're going to play the audio overview, so it might be a little bit longer. So till next time, everyone.
All right, let's talk about American colleges because they're in a really tough spot right now. They're getting squeezed from two sides, a financial crisis on one and a crisis of public confidence on the other. And how they're responding? Well, it could change the very meaning of a college degree. So let's dive in and break down what's really going on.
So let's start with a number that honestly is pretty shocking. A huge study from Titan Partners found that only 30% of the actual administrators and staff at private four-year colleges strongly believe their own school is worth the cost. Think about that for a second. That's a staggering lack of faith coming from the people on the inside, the ones running the show.
So that begs the big question. Why? What's driving this collapse in confidence? Well, it's not just one thing. It's more like a perfect storm of money problems and, much deeper philosophical questions that are forcing colleges to rethink their entire purpose. And this all boils down to what the source material calls a double crisis. You can think of it like a war being fought on two fronts, where colleges are just trying to stay afloat.
See, on one side, you've got these crushing financial pressures. Fewer students are enrolling, federal aid is getting tighter, and funding is getting cut. But then, on the other side, you have the public, and people are skeptical, asking, is a degree really worth it anymore? The public's trust in higher ed is just not what it used to be. It's like a vice grip, and the colleges are stuck right in the middle.
And you can see exactly how this pressure plays out when you look at the numbers. The moment a college expects its budget to shrink, bam, recruiting new students suddenly becomes the absolute top priority, jumping from 64% to 80%. And that all-consuming focus, well, it often comes at the expense of supporting the students who are already there.
And all that pressure to recruit, it has real consequences on the ground. It creates a very real, very human problem, the advising bottleneck. For 5 years straight, 5 years, the number one thing stopping advisors from doing their jobs effectively has been the exact same problem. Their caseloads are just way too high. This isn't a new issue that just popped up. It's a chronic, systemic problem that schools just haven't been able to fix.
The result of this is totally predictable, and it's just brutal. Good advisors get completely burned out, they quit, and all that turnover means the support students get is less consistent and lower quality, at the very moment they need it the most. It just becomes this awful, vicious cycle. So how do schools try to solve these staff shortages? Well, and you're not going to believe this, the most common solution is to just pile more work onto the staff who are left. Yeah, they're trying to solve the burnout problem by making the very root cause of the burnout even worse. It's kind of wild.
But, okay, institutions are starting to get it. They're realizing they can't just keep doing the same thing. To solve that big crisis of confidence, they're making a huge strategic pivot. It's a new focus called the Career Readiness Mandate.
And this right here, this is the big aha moment from the report. Check this out. A whopping 95% of people who think college is worth the money also believe it prepares students for a career. The connection between value and job prep, it's almost perfect.
And it's not just a coincidence. The data shows it's actually predictive. The single biggest thing that predicts whether someone thinks college is a good value is whether they believe it gets you ready for the workforce. So the new equation is simple. Value is career readiness, period.
So what are we really talking about when we say career readiness? I mean, it's not just about learning to write a resume. It's the whole package. It's getting career advice, developing real job skills, building those crucial soft skills like communication, and actually getting placed in internships to get real-world experience.
But here's the catch. There's this huge roadblock. Colleges can create the most amazing career services programs in the world, but it doesn't matter if students don't even know they're there. And right now, fewer than half of students are even aware that these resources exist for them. It's a massive awareness gap.
And that gap is where the second part of the solution comes into play. To actually make career readiness work and to fix that advisor bottleneck we talked about, colleges are now turning to technology for smarter, more scalable support.
But here's the thing. Colleges are already playing catch-up. Look at this. The students are way ahead of the curve. They're adopting and even paying for their own AI tools at double or triple the rate of the staff and administrators who were supposed to be helping them. There's a huge gap here. So why the hesitation from the staff? Well, it really just boils down to two things: a lack of trust in the tech and this deep-seated belief that real student support has to be human to human. They're worried that tech is there to replace them, not to help them.
But the goal here isn't replacement. It's about making advisors even better. The idea is to let AI handle all the routine, time-sucking tasks. Answering the same FAQs over and over, summarizing notes, drafting basic emails. That frees up the human advisors to do what only they can do: have those high-impact, life-changing conversations with students.
Okay, so let's pull all these threads together. What does this all mean for the future of higher education? What's the bottom line here?
The path forward really has two big parts. First, colleges have to double down on proving their value. That means making career prep a non-negotiable part of the experience, offering job-focused credentials, and building real partnerships with employers. And second, they have to get smarter with their support, using tech like AI to free up their people and make them more efficient.
And all of this leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. This massive focus on jobs is happening because colleges have to prove their worth to survive. But in that race, are we fundamentally changing what college is even for? Are we heading toward a future where education is defined not by the love of learning, but by the direct path to earning?
Generation AI is part of the Enrollify podcast network. If you like this podcast, chances are you're going to like other Enrollify shows too. Our podcast network is growing weekly, and we've got a wide range of marketing, enrollment, and higher ed technology shows that are jam-packed with stories, ideas, and frameworks, all designed to empower you to be a better higher ed professional. Enrollify is made possible by Element 451, the next generation AI student engagement platform that's helping institutions all over the country create meaningful, personalized, and engaging connections with their prospects and students. Learn more at element451.com.